Flying Turtle says, is it wrong to ask for more money and a promotion when you are offered a promotion with your job? That's a good question. You know, I think that just depends on if you're happy with your job or not. Because if you're happy with your job, there's a lot to be said for the peace and tranquility that comes with having a job that you love, even if you're not necessarily paid as much as you might get paid somewhere else. Because you might get paid better somewhere else, but you might not like the culture, or you might not like the people. You might have, you know, things that the hours suck, or they won't let you work remote.
That overgrown vermin's broke another trap.
So, I think the answer to that question is going to be, it depends. Because if you think
we're not going out there again.
Yes, if you think that, right, it's about leverage, right? If you love your job and you're happy with your work environment and they gave you a raise, there's something to be said for that. However, I also understand, having worked in corporate a little bit, although albeit briefly, the raises are never going to be enough. Like a raise where it's like, oh, we're going to give you an extra 25 cents an hour. It's like, ugh. But yeah, like conditions, health insurance, like benefits and perks, those are, and job stability. Like a lot of people don't have job stability. So that's the thing. If you like the company, you've got stability, the promotion comes with a decent pay raise and all those things, then I think that, yeah, you should just accept it, right, and not complain. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, if you're in a position where you don't like your job and you've got an offer from another company on the table for the position that your current job is offering you, and this other job is willing to pay you 25% more, then yeah, when you go to the negotiation table, it's like, well, hey, this other company's willing to offer me, you know, $80,000 a year. You're only offering me $65,000 a year. Can you match what they're offering me? And if they can't, then you go move companies. But I would only say that that's an option if you don't like where you're currently at. Because it's a huge stress factor to leave your job, to start at a new company. There's a training period, there's new work culture, meeting new people, learning all the ins and outs of the new position. Like, that's a whole nother level of stress. You love your company, don't like the role I'm leaving, but excited for the next opportunity in a new department. Yeah, then you're good to go. Yeah, I wouldn't rock the boat by looking a gift horse in the mouth and being like, well, you know, technically this new position is worth $10,000 more a year than what you're offering me. I don't think I would do that, yeah. But it also depends, like, yeah, there's so many factors in that, but yeah, I would say just try out the new position, and if it works good for you, great. Like JK is saying, you can always do 6 months in the new role and then ask for a raise. That's fair. That's totally fair, yeah. Do 6 months in your new position and be like, you know what? I've analyzed all this and I think I'm worth an extra, you know, whatever, and bring that to the table. By the way, there is nothing wrong with asking for more money. Everybody should normalize that. But yeah, time and place is an important factor in that conversation. Leverage is important. Pour one out for Lance Reddick? Yes. You know, I think the first movie or show that I also saw him was Fringe. Was the first show I can remember watching Lance Reddick in. And then after Fringe, I started seeing him show up in all these different things, and I was like, this guy is awesome. And of course, yeah, his stint in the John Wick universe. And yes, congratulations on the promotion. Yes. Have you seen a demon?
There's a horned woman in the moors, spreading corruption, if that's what you mean.
Yes. She's after the druids who vanquished Astaroth.
Ah, that madman Nefane lives out there. We already tried checking on him. Got as far as Boglinstone Circle, and then the druid's wolf companion appeared and bit one of my men. I'm already short on knights. Not going to risk what I have left on some bastard who hates the cathedral.
I also have a completely different perspective because I've been freelance for most of my career, owning all my own companies and everything. And my wife, this is a part of a greater conversation. I should probably clip this out as part of this overall conversation. Hang on. I got a timestamp. Should I ask for more for a raise? I think that was like 35 minutes when we started. So a further answer, and this goes beyond like the being at a position where you're working for a company and you're getting a raise. So because I've been freelance and for a bulk of my career and doing contract work and having companies and stuff, with the freelance stuff, my wife and I have had some great discussions and stuff because my wife has always been someone who has worked for other people. And so we have had some really interesting conversations of her and I discussing why I would ask for X amount of money when everyone else is asking for Y. Specifically when we were living in Cancun and Playa del Carmen. I've talked about this before in the past where we did that whole thing where we handed out like 3,000 business cards and we were, looking for photography work and stuff. And I was coming into a local market and demanding a pay rate of here, and you have all the locals who are willing to do the pay rate for here. And there was this pushback. I remember one time we had a meeting with, he had a little restaurant. He had 3 different restaurants, but he had like a sandwich chain, and he was a local guy, and he was successful enough to have 3 little branches in Cancun. And I remember we used to go there 2-3 times a week to get sandwiches. And I had just done a presentation for the city on social media. And so I was on the front page of the paper in Cancun. And he saw the paper and he had asked, well, what would it cost to have you come do photography and social media for my little business? And I don't remember what I quoted him, but it was something like probably $3,000 a month or something, like $3,000 a month. And he was like, he got kind of offended, and he was like, oh, there's no way I would pay you more than, and he quoted me like $300 a month. He was like, there's no way I would pay you more than $300 a month, and for that $300 a month, I would need you to be like on site all day here for 8 hours a day. And I was like, and that's why you are where you are, and that's why I am where I am. Like, you're successful on your own stage, and that's awesome, but there is no way that I would come work for someone full time for like $300 a month. Like, I'm charging $3,000 a month to do contract work, and you want me to work full time for $300 a month. That's the difference. Like, another time we had, there was a wedding photographer in Playa del Carmen that wanted me to do. It was called Co-working Playa del Carmen, I think, and they had hired me to come in and do a series of weekend workshops on social media marketing. And so I came down and taught these 3 weekend courses, and out of that we had a handful of companies who had come to that as clients who wanted to do individual consults after the fact. And one of the guys was a wedding photographer who was successful. He was doing $150,000 to $200,000 a year in the Riviera Maya as a wedding photographer, and he was looking for someone to do social media. And so we had a coffee, and he asked me to put together a package, and so I did, and I put together this document, and I gave him like 4 or 5 options to choose from, going from like $3,000 a month up to like $10,000 a month. And I remember when I went to the follow-up meeting with him and we sat down at the table and he was looking through my options and he got literally upset and like raised his voice at me and was like, there is no way, even the lowest option on here is $3,000 a month. Like, I would need you to be here. I would need you to be clocking in, working with me alongside me as an employee for that kind of money. And I said, then we're not going to work together because you are not my boss. I am some. You asked me to come give you a consult. I did. You paid me to be here, and then you paid me to put together this package to explain to you the options I could work for you with. Like, these are the things I could do for your company. But I am the professional here. You're just a photographer. If you want somebody to come in and manage your media and manage your social media and manage your marketing, then you're going to pay me that. And what I want is this, because that's what my time is worth. And he got very upset, and we obviously didn't work together because he wanted an employee for that amount of money. And I was like, I'm not going to be your employee. I'm definitely not going to be working with you over my shoulder. I'm not going to be doing daily Slack. We're not going to be doing daily calls and meetups and all that. I'll check in with you once a week, have a bigger meeting once a month, but no, you are going to pay me and I'm going to do my job. That's how this works. And Chris has always asked in the past, when we've had our discussions on this, why I haven't been willing to like work for less. And because a lot of the times as a freelancer, you might have 3 or 4 months in between contracts. I would rather have 3 or 4 months in between contracts because by charging people this amount of money, I work with a higher class of clientele, which means there's a phrase about how the people who will nickel and dime you for everything are going to be the same people who are going to try to micromanage every single thing you do, and they are not worth working for. What you want are the high-paying clients who understand that you are the professional, they don't know shit, and they just pay you to take care of it. That's what you want. And so it's worth it to try to filter out the micromanaging nickel and dimers because they're trying to do everything on a budget. They're going to nitpick everything you do. They're going to complain about everything. They're going to fight with you on paying you. It's always going to be a fight to get your paycheck. They're not going to agree with the milestone payments and everything else. It's way easier and better to just get the high paying clients that just want you to do your job and they get out of the way and let you work. So yeah, JK says, I used to be an IT contractor and company would be surprised when I didn't want to work for them directly. And like, yeah, I don't need a massive pay cut. Exactly. Imagine walking into his restaurant and saying, if I paid that amount, I'd expect you to come to my house and cook dinner for a week. I remember back when I did construction as well, there was a remodel project I got hired to do, and I walked off of it because I got hired to do the remodel, and I got hired through a third party. And like a carpet shop, I think is what we used to call them. And so I showed up to do the work. And I'm in there and I'm setting up and I'm starting to work. And I was like 2 days into the project, and all of a sudden the homeowner, the wife of the homeowner comes home in the middle of the day and comes into the house and starts like, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, I saw this guy on this home improvement show does it this way. Why aren't you doing it that? And the moment she showed up and started doing that, I literally called the carpet shop and I said, you need to tell her to go away or I'm going to go away. And they were like, well, unfortunately, it's the client. We can't tell her to not be in the house when you're working. And I said, well, then I'm unfortunately going to walk away off this project and you could bring another contractor in. Because I will not work with the homeowner over my shoulder telling me that she saw this guy on this home improvement. I mean, it's the equivalent of these days, because that was before like YouTube was a big thing. It's the equivalent of someone these days being like, well, I saw so-and-so on YouTube does it this way. And then they pull up a YouTube tutorial and they're trying to tell you to do it this way. And it's like, bitch, please. I've got third generation experience here. I don't know. No. If you ask 50 contractors how to build a house, you're going to get 50 contractors telling you 50 different ways to build a house. As long as it's being built to code, it doesn't matter the steps that are being taken and in what order they are taken, as long as it gets built to code. And the worst thing is someone who's going to stand over your shoulder the whole time you're working trying to tell you how it's done. It's like, no, you're paying me to be the professional. Get out of my way and let me do it. But uh, knowing your worth is an important part of doing any sort of contracting, more so than being an employee. Um, because as an employee, you don't have as much leverage, but when you're contracting, you have all the leverage. So it's a good place to be. Um, right, especially with trade work, people who don't know what they're doing. It's like, man, I've been on job since I was 5 years old. Like, I don't. There's no way you're ever gonna tell me that you know more than me. And then, like where we're at right now, um, I remember Chris a couple of years ago had asked like, um, why the rate is the rate. Like, why am I charging what I'm charging for like sponsored streams and reviews and stuff? And it's like, because that's what my time is worth. She's like, yeah, but these other people are doing it for this. And I was like, it doesn't matter to me what they're doing it for. I'm not them. My time is worth this. So I will get people who will come to me and they will try to, they'll, people who don't know social media will come to you and say something like along the lines of, well, you only have X amount of followers. Therefore, you are only worth Y, right? And they'll try to base your worth off of the amount of followers you have, or the amount of traffic that your streams get, or the amount of traffic that your channel gets from the long form videos. And I was like, you're mistaken, because you're not paying me for the value of my audience. What you're paying me for is the value of my time. And my time is worth X. Now, there is a portion of my time that is tied to the growth of my channel and the size of my channel, but there's also a huge component of my worth that is related to how much money I want to work for. So there is a minimum that I'm willing to work for X, willing to work for. And so for me, it's like I don't like to work for less than that amount. And that amount is different for everybody. But I've been very public about this. I charge $1,000 an hour to do a sponsored stream with a minimum of 2 hours. I charge $750 for a paid review that's 8 to 10 minutes long, and I charge $350 for a social media post on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Those are my prices. Those prices are going up. The moment I hit 100,000 followers on YouTube or Instagram, whichever happens first, those prices will double. And I don't work with a ton of companies every year because I am too expensive for the vast majority of companies, and I'm okay with that because I don't have to work for less than that because I make enough money off of the advertising revenue and the merch store and the book sales. All my shit's paid for. I have no debt. Like, I make a full-time living off of this, and I don't have to. The worst is the guys who will do things like they'll do a video on YouTube, and then at the very beginning of the video, they'll have like, today's video is brought to you by, and it's like a sponsored clip where it's like 60 seconds of them talking about like ball shavers or like an energy drink, or something like that. And it has nothing to do with what the content of the video is. And I look at those and I know what those pay. I know what those advertising spots pay. And I'm like, it makes me cringe because they have to do that because they have bills to pay. And I don't have to do that. So I have as we've talked about before, that film with Mark Wahlberg and I think it's called The Gambler, when John Goodman's telling him, being with everything paid off and you have the position of fuck you, it's a great position to be in because I can literally say, you don't like my price? Fuck you. It's like I don't have to worry about it. Like, I just do what I do. And then a few times a year, I work with people on sponsored projects. And it is what it is. Like, I'm doing very well. What is my monthly average income? I do income reports on YouTube, Simple Place. So if you are on YouTube as a channel member, you get access to my income reports and analytics reports. Tamalama says, hang on, we got to ban a racist over on TikTok. John Wick game is hot. I agree. Tamalama says, I took your approach in Skyrim about my character to not know anything unless it's through rumors. It's the best way to play a role-playing character. Anyway, this stream is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Perfect example. JK says another favor is, why did it cost you so much when it took 30 minutes? Because it took 30 years to be able to do it in 30. Oh, dude, that's a great one. There is a great song that went viral on like Instagram and TikTok a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago now. What is the jingle is it cost this much because it took me fucking hours. I think it's I can't remember the jingle now, man. But it's like it's a girl singing, why does it cost this much? And it's like because the cost of the skill that it took to build up to this point. I remember I did a this has probably been, it was probably 2019 maybe. We did a white paper for this company out of California on how to work with influencers. And so they brought me in and they paid, it was $15,000, right? 15 grand to consult was what I got paid to come in and consult with the head of marketing on how to work with influencers, because they had never worked with influencers before. So I got brought in to work with the company and I got paid 15 grand to create this package. And that included me creating a couple of white papers for them. And so I basically created these 2 big PDF packages, which then got distributed to their whole team on how to work with influencers and helped them set up their influencer campaign. And I remember the head of marketing was the person who negotiated the deal. And then after the paperwork got signed, the boss came in and got all upset that they had just spent $15,000 on me. And the boss, during the meeting, when we were meeting with the head of the company, he was like, why the hell are you worth $15,000? And I'm like, because I am. Like, it doesn't matter. And he's like, well, there's no way I'm paying you $15,000 for 6 weeks worth of work. And I was like, that's too bad, because you've already got a signed contract that says you are. And he got very, you'll get people like that. They're like, you're not worth the time. And it's like, my expertise says otherwise. Like, I had a minimum pay rate, and this is, when is the last time I did construction was 2007. In 2007, I had a minimum day rate of $500 a day. So even if you needed me to like come out to your job site for 15 minutes to fix a small little piece of tile on the back of your backsplash, it was $500 for me to get my tools and my truck and come to your house. $500. And that was it. And that was for a 2-hour minimum. After 2 hours, I started charging $150 an hour. So that was $2,007. These days, that would be more like $1,000 minimum and probably $1,000 per hour after that because of inflation and everything else. Knowing your worth is a huge part of doing any sort of like contracting. Your reputation is more... Is your reputation worth more than coin in the game industry? Yes. Reputation is everything. Mugiwara says cheap labor ain't skilled and skilled labor ain't cheap. Damn straight. Yeah, if you're only going to be a cheapskate, you're going to get cheap labor. Yeah, the last half of our time in the travel industry was, everything was based 100% off of referrals. I only had to pitch like the first 2-3 years of us working, and then the last like 7 years was all referrals, because once you build up to a certain level, you're just getting referred to the next client because everybody's so happy with the work that you did here. You get referred to the next guy, you get referred to the next guy, and it's just it. But knowing your costs, knowing your worth is hugely important. It's trickier when you're part of the machine and you're an employee. Anyway, that was a great conversation. Tom Fuller says, cost, quality, schedule, that's the levers people have to work with. It's not about the time, it's about the product. It only took you 30 minutes. Why does it cost me $750? Because that's my time. That's what it costs for my expertise. When cost quality, the customer can pick any two. Win versus cost versus quality. Yep, yep.